Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken. Today, guys, we are here to review the Stir of Echoes 4K Steelbook that Lionsgate just put out. This is honestly one of their biggest releases of the year, in terms of catalog 4Ks that Lionsgate has released. They really haven't had a great year. And it seems to be ramping up in 2025. We got the Tarantino stuff coming. I think we're going to have more Tarantino stuff coming. They started their Lionsgate Limited website, and some of the Steelbooks are exclusive to that site, which, just like the Apocalypse Now, Steelbook video that I just did, I do want to talk about the Lionsgate Limited line, the pricing, all that stuff. Is this stuff, look, we were spoiled for so long. Is this worth the price? This is $34.99 on Amazon. I think it's actually an Amazon exclusive Steelbook. This one is not on the Lionsgate Limited website. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think this is an Amazon exclusive. I do not think this was at Walmart or anything like that. But look at this, guys. This is a lenticular slip cover right here of Stir of Echoes, and this is kind of new to Lionsgate, doing these lenticular covers. Kickboxer just came out with one as well, which I'm actually still waiting on to get in, but I did order this off of Amazon for $34.99. Just came in, and I did want to talk about it today. We're going to unbox it, all that stuff. I just watched it on 4K. I haven't seen Stir of Echoes probably since 2000. It's been a very long time. I remember watching it when I was a kid. I remember it being a creepy film that I watched when I was a kid, but I have not seen it since. I purchased this Blu-ray right here, which is actually still up on Amazon for $5.99, but I think I got this for $3 back at a half price books back in the day. I think it was in the clearance section, this Stir of Echoes Blu-ray, which I did not watch until this review, just to kind of put it in so I could compare it to the new 4K release that came out. And guys, there is also an imprint edition that they put out, I think, back in 2021, that had some new features. So we're going to get into kind of comparing all of these editions. Is this release worth it? We're going to talk about all that in today's video. Before we get into it, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you haven't already, and also comment below your thoughts on Stir of Echoes, directed by David Koepp, I believe is his name, which he did a movie with Kevin Bacon recently, and I think it was called You Should Have Left. And it was not a very good movie. But David Koepp, obviously, he was primarily known as a writer. He wrote the screenplay, the script for Jurassic Park with Steven Spielberg. So that's kind of what gave him his name and put him on the map. And then he started directing his own films. And Stir of Echoes was, I believe, his second movie. So let me know your thoughts on the film in the comment section below. As far as my thoughts, having just watched this movie for the first time and 25 years, basically. Like I said, I remember getting this. It was either VHS or DVD. I rented the movie back in the day. I think this is a good movie. It is a supernatural, it's how I would describe it, as a supernatural thriller. It's along the same lines as The Sixth Sense to me, and it kind of feels a little bit similar, just the plot of the film. There's a girl that's missing. There's a potential murder investigation because of this girl that's missing. There's something that people don't know, but Kevin Bacon knows, because he has this kind of sixth sense that he acquires after being put under in a hypnosis state. And now he's susceptible to all of this supernatural stuff. His son also has this supernatural ability, almost like Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense. So there's a lot of those comparisons with this film. And the interesting thing is, this came out the same year. And I don't know what released first. Was it Stir of Echoes? Was it The Sixth Sense? But obviously, I don't think either one of them really copied off of one another, because they came out in the same year. It was just one of those things where two kind of similar scripts got greenlit at the same time. Obviously, there's differences between the two, but this movie does really give me those Sixth Sense vibes. And it also kind of has it's kind of a little reminiscent of The Shining as well, just with the kid that has these supernatural abilities, and the adult, almost Dr. Sleep. I guess you could compare it to also. So I enjoyed the film. I think it's a good supernatural horror film. There are some creepy moments to it, but it really is kind of a a murder mystery first. Like, I don't really see this as a horror film first, even though there are some like creepy moments with the ghost girl like throughout the movie. There's a really good like there's some really good like cinematography, and some really like cool moments like visually in the movie, like when he's in the dream state. Like when he first gets put under hypnosis and he comes out of it and he's like seeing stuff differently. Like the stuff they do with like the red, almost like infrared, like cinematography and visuals is really cool. They kind of abandon that a little bit into the movie, but all that stuff's really cool. The way they show the dreams and stuff and his hypnotic state is very cool and kind of unique and different. So I do think this movie has some really good like cinematography, some unique visuals in it, like the theater scene where he's like up in the chair. Like I haven't really seen that in any movie before. So that's like a really cool visual where he's going towards the screen that says sleep and dig. So like I like this movie and I just enjoy Kevin Bacon, like in general. Like who doesn't? Like he's a great actor and he's somebody like, to me, like he's never forgot his roots. And I like that about him. Like a lot of movie stars, like they get their start in the horror genre, and Kevin Bacon was in Friday the 13th back in 1980. And then they get to a certain point and they just leave the genre and they don't need it anymore. Like they get too big for it. Kevin Bacon's a guy that like, he always returns back to it. And I think it's because he's a guy that he loves movies, but I think he loves the genre. So he always comes back to it. He's always respectful of the genre as well. So I appreciate that about him. Like he always just comes back to it and does these like really cool, unique, like supernatural movies and thrillers and horror films. Like he was just in Maxine. A24's Maxine. Stir of Echoes is a good movie. I like the cast. I like the girl that plays his wife in the film quite a bit. She was actually in the Mighty Ducks too. Like that's what I remember her from. Now let's get into the 4K here. This is a native 4K restoration. You got the Dolby Vision, you got the HDR, and Lionsgate did a terrific job with this 4K. They really did. And like I said, I did pop in this Blu-ray, which I didn't know this had a domestic Blu-ray. For some reason, I was thinking this was a first time to Blu-ray and 4K release for this film until I went over to my shelf and I'm like, I just kind of remembered picking it up back in the day. I was like, but I couldn't remember if I had the DVD or the Blu-ray. So I went over to the shelf and looked. I'm like, sure enough, this was on Blu-ray, and I did buy it back in the day because I thought the imprint release was the first time that it was put out on Blu-ray. So this had a Blu-ray from Lionsgate. I think this was a very early Blu-ray that came out back in 2008, 2009. And the Blu-ray like actually looks really good. Now, where I think this 4K improves upon that Blu-ray is definitely the clarity. This is a much clearer picture. You can definitely make out a lot more. There's a lot of scenes in the dark, in nighttime sequences that do look a lot better and a lot clearer with that 4K. Like the sequence where he's first put under hypnosis. Like that sequence on the Blu-ray, like you can't see anything. It's kind of similar to No Country for Old Men because I just talked about that. You couldn't make out anything in the dark, like in that Blu-ray, like just the faces. But in the 4K, like you can make out everything, all the details and what's going on in that room, which definitely makes it a little bit more tense, I feel like. But overall, like I think the Blu-ray it's a very saturated look for this movie. Like the skin tones are very saturated, and what this 4K does is just kind of bring it back to a more like natural, more realistic state, and honestly like probably what everything looked like back when it was shot on film back in 1998. So it really like brings it back to a more natural state. And this is, like I said, a native 4K. So it's taking those original properties, those original film elements, and just restoring those and enhancing those in 4K. I think it has a really nice grain structure. I can see people watching this and thinking that the grain is a little bit too thick, especially in certain moments in the movie. But I think overall it's handled very well and does make you really feel like you are watching a film from that time period that it was filmed in. So I thought Lionsgate handled this restoration very well. I thought it was a very nice 4K and a really solid upgrade over this Blu-ray. Now, like I said, I think the Blu-ray, it's very important I mention this kind of stuff now, guys, apparently. But I do think that the Blu-ray looks good, and it is $5.99 currently on Amazon. So if you want to get this Blu-ray, like you're a fan of Stir of Echoes, but you're not like a massive fan of Stir of Echoes, this is a solid Blu-ray edition. It looks good, and it's a very good watch on Blu-ray. You can make everything out. Everything's very clear. It's just that the 4K, I think, is probably the definitive way to watch this movie, and I do like the way it's colored a little bit better, the way it looks a little bit better. And I do think overall it's a little bit clearer and really has that filmic look that you would want out of a film from this time period. So I think overall the 4K is a pretty sizable and significant upgrade to the Blu-ray, but I do think the Blu-ray is also very nice as well. Now, getting into the audio here, guys, you have an upgraded Dolby Atmos soundtrack, and I thought that sounded excellent, and I can absolutely see, like, after watching this film, that was definitely necessary for this movie, because some of those, like, you know, dream sequences, they're very, like, reliant on the sound. Like, the sound design in some of those sequences is very, like, immersive, so I think that the Atmos really, like, adds to that. And I don't have that full Atmos setup. I've just got a sound bar and I've got a subwoofer, but the sound bar kind of simulates that Atmos, so I had it all the way up. And in some of those, like, dream sequences and stuff where he's kind of looking around and you just kind of feel that audio around you when he's in it, it really, like, immerses you, makes you feel like you're part of the actual dream sequence. But there's a lot of, like, loud noises that come out of nowhere, and they're really, like, integrated very well throughout the film and really add to, like, some very tense and scary and almost like jump scary, like, moments in the movie, which some people don't appreciate. But I think with that upgrade in audio, I think it really adds to the immersiveness of the experience of watching this movie. So I thought it was a really good upgrade for sure, and a needed upgrade for this particular film. So I do appreciate and applaud Lionsgate for upgrading that audio for this release, because I think all it had in the past was a 5.1. Now, I will say you don't have the option for any other audio. With this release, you can only listen to this with the Atmos upgrade. You can't listen to it in 5.1. The only two options you have here are with the Atmos, and then you can listen to the audio commentary, and that's it. So if you wanted to listen to it with a 5.1, you could not with this particular release. Now, getting into the unboxing here, guys, look at this Steelbook. It is nice. You got Kevin Bacon's eyes open with the girl behind him, and then you turn it, his eyes are closed. So yeah, there you go, guys. Look at it. It's a very nice Steelbook. You know, I don't know, like, how many of these Lionsgate's going to do, because the Quentin Tarantino one's coming out, I do not believe, are lenticular. But right here on the back, guys, you have the synopsis. You have some images from the movie. And then you got the special features down there, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then you got the casting list down below. And this does have a Blu-ray and a 4K in it. I'll take the slipcover off. Look at that, guys. Look at that. I really like the artwork here. I always think Lionsgate does a killer job with the presentation on these Steelbooks. And then we'll open this up. There is a digital code inside as well. And then you also have the Blu-ray and the 4K, which the 4K says sleep, and then the Blu-ray says dig. And then you have the brick wall right there in the background that he's digging through and pickaxing through in the film. This movie is also, like, part Amityville horror. I think, like, there's moments where it's very, like, Amityville horror as well. So this is, like, part Amityville horror, The Sixth Sense, The Shining as well. So there's a lot of, like, you can just feel like there's a lot of horror influences in this movie for sure. So yeah, that's the Steelbook, guys. So really nice work on the Steelbook. Now let's get into the special features, because this is where I think this release, like, truly shines. They added 2 new special features here. There is a Visions of the Past Revisiting Stir of Echoes, and that is with the director David Koepp talking about the film. It's about 17 minutes long, and he's really just giving a retrospective look on the movie 20 years later, or 25 years later. Sorry, guys. Then you get Establishing Shot with Fred Murphy, who is the cinematographer. That's about 8 minutes long. So you got 2 new special features with this release, which I always appreciate from a new studio title. And if Lionsgate truly does want to jump into this, like, more boutique space, you know, with some of their releases and making them premium and upping the price as well, I think that adding new special features really goes a long way. But another really cool thing about this release is if you did not get the imprint version, they actually have these special features from the imprint version, which is from 2021. In here as well, which had another interview with the director David Koepp, and it also had an interview with the main actress in this film, which I'm kind of blanking on her name. Catherine Irby, I believe is her name, but she has an interview in the imprint release, and that is on here. And I think there's another interview with somebody else involved in the film. I'm blanking on it, but there's 3 new interviews as well with this release that's from the imprint release. So if you never got the imprint release, because that was an Australian release, if you never imported that, all of those features are in this release. So this essentially, like, for the States, has 5 new special features, almost, or I would say a little bit over an hour of new special features if you do not have that imprint release. And then it has all the past special features from this Blu-ray as well, which I think includes some deleted scenes. And then the audio commentary with David Koepp, it also has, and that's from this Blu-ray from back in the day. And then you got Spirits of Sights channeling the paranormal. So there's some good archival stuff as well. Then there's the 2021 imprint special features. Then there's the 2 new special features that Lionsgate added for this release right here. So I honestly think this is a pretty good value for what you get. Like $34.99 to get this like really premium, nice steelbook with a lenticular slipcover. And then you got 5 like new special features for the US, 3 from the imprint, then 2 brand new ones. Like they really went all out to do like a definitive version of Stir of Echoes. So I actually think this is a really good release. And, for the price point of $35, I do think it is kind of totally worth it to get this. Now, like I said, if you're not like a massive fan of the movie, if you don't need all those special features, they're good interviews, by the way, too. They're very good interviews. If you don't need all that stuff, it's available for $5.99 currently on Blu-ray. I'll link both down below, guys. I'll link the Steelbook for $34.99, and I'll also link the regular Blu-ray for $5.99. But thank you all so much for watching this review. I do think this is honestly, like, I think it looks great. Great special features, great packaging. I think this is a really good, like, standout release of 2024, to be honest. It's probably one of the best things that Lionsgate has done all year, to be perfectly honest. But thank you all so much for watching my Stir of Echoes 4K Steelbook review. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos, and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.